From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at our SOR vault. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife? Do we go on a great flight to the heavens above, or are we one and done? Yeah, it's the mystery, isn't it? Taking a look at this very human topic, which affects every single one of us, is best-selling author Stephen Hawley Martin. Best-selling author Stephen has had more than half a dozen titles achieve bestseller status on Amazon and is one of only three-time winners of the Writer's Digest Book Award. A former advertising agency president and CEO, he's currently the publisher and editor of the Oakley Press. Stephen's website is shmartin.com. If you want to check it on out, you can get his books there as well. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Stephen Hawley Martin, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. What a pleasure to have you here.
Great to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. You know, I got to tell you, the whole topic of death scares the daylights out of me. I can feel already the anxiety building up in myself because in my younger days, I literally was so scared of death that I would run down the street screaming if I was having a panic attack. My neighbors used to think, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And we're going to get into a lot of that with you tonight. I want to learn about you a little bit for our audience, since this is your first time here. How did you get into the subject of writing about life after death?
Well, I tell you, Dave, I went through school. I believed what I learned in class, in science class, that matter is all there is, and that as an adult, when I got out in the working world, I would say I was pretty much an atheist, maybe an agnostic somewhere along the line. But I had an experience in my mid-20s that kind of got me questioning the worldview that I'd been brought up to hold. And that was that I had an out-of-body experience. I was very sick, and long story short, I think my blood pressure must have dropped, and I kind of just went swoosh, and I suddenly felt better. But then I looked down, and I saw my body lying on the bed. And this was not a near-death experience in the sense that a lot of people have them, where they go through the tunnel and they see the light, and they go toward that, and then they see relatives and stuff. It was a pretty quick thing. It lasted, I don't know how long, maybe a few seconds, but long enough for me to look down and see that I was up somewhere near the ceiling looking down at my body. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up the next morning, but it just stayed with me. It was so real. And so I started investigating and reading it. I got really interested in metaphysics. I joined the Rosicrucian order, which of course is all about metaphysics. I went from being a novice to an adept, took all their classes. At that time, it was kind of like a correspondence course that you took. And I read everything I could. And I guess the thing that really got me was in sometime in the late 70s, almost 40 years ago, I read a book called Life After Life by Raymond Moody, which, of course, Raymond Moody was a doctor who at that time I think was a resident at the University of Virginia Medical School. and was talking to patients who had had near-death experiences, and he investigated about 150 of those and wrote a book about it, which I found fascinating and really read in one sitting, and went on from there. So that's how I got into it, Dave, and I've done an awful lot of research, and that research is in my book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth, which is I wrote because of what I learned, and I want to tell you, Dave, you don't have to worry about dying a whole lot because you're an eternal being. You're going to be here for a long, long time, maybe in different forms, places, but and not in that same body you're in, but you'll be around.
Well, with my luck, I'll end up like a cricket that goes inside a reptile tank at someone's house. That's probably how I will, come back the next one. I could just feel that going on. But, I agree. I do believe deep down there is an afterlife. I am a God guy, even though I'm not a religious guy or attend any church or any specific denomination. But I have my own personal beliefs that have led me to believing there is something more than just is out there. Now, you mentioned just a few minutes ago that you pretty much grew up agnostic, maybe even a little bit atheist in regards to that. That is quite a drastic turn from that one event to change you around. So let's go back before you had that experience. What led you down the path that you did not believe that there was anything more out there?
Well, I was brought up by parents who were, that's what they believed. I mean, I lived in a secular household. We would celebrate Christmas and, maybe go to church once or twice a year just for Easter or Christmas or something like that. But it was, I understood that their beliefs were that they just didn't buy. They were actually almost anti-Christian in a way. They kind of had bad experience with fundamentalists who were trying to convert them over, and so they just had an aversion to that whole scene, and so that just rubbed off on me. And then if you study science, I think science is still stuck, at least the kind you learn in high school, and just if you don't go into quantum physics, quantum mechanics, if you just stick with the Newtonian kind of physics, it's stuck in the 19th century. It still is based on premises that matter is all there is, and everything comes from matter. Therefore, there can be no consciousness didn't exist until evolution produced a brain. It's based on Darwinism and scientific materialism. And scientific materialism denies the idea that there could possibly be a brain, be a God. So if you buy into all that, then you're going to automatically say, no, God, this idea of God's not possible. All that exists is matter, which, of course, we know isn't true. Nowadays, there's been so much research done that indicates that, and that's one of the things I bring out in this book, that the University of Virginia has a division called the Division of Perceptual Studies that's been studying this since 1967, and they have come to the conclusion that the brain does not create consciousness, that the brain is really a receiver of consciousness like your cell phone or your television or your computer is of the internet, that it's a receiver that integrates consciousness with your body. So, but scientific materialism has not been updated. The premises stay the same as they were back when Darwin wrote his book in 1859. So yeah, I mean that's why. It's just because that's the way I was brought up.
So as you started upon this journey to learn a little bit more about the afterlife, and it became something that you felt you needed to go down that path, I understand the event changed your way of thinking and the way that you wanted to learn. But as you started to study, what did you learn?
Well, as I said, I joined the Rosicrucian order, and that is a kind of a mystical secret society that teaches basically that what we know already from quantum mechanics, that really matter is not what it appears to be. It's vibrations, it's energy. E equals mc squared. Matter. Energy equals matter times the squared to the speed of light. So, when we look at reality, what we see is not really what's there. There's nothing really, no such thing as really solid stuff. It's all energy. Everything is connected. All is one, and that is the teaching of the Rosicrucian society. That all is one, that everything is connected, that it all goes back to energy and vibrations. And the conclusion I've come to, I'm not sure this is what they would say, but that really consciousness is the ground of being. It is what everything comes from. There is really only one consciousness, and we each feel that we're separate and we have a separate consciousness, but that is an illusion. It's what in the East is called Maya, where your senses, things come in through your eyes, through your sense of touch and smell, and it makes you think that you're separate from reality, but you're really part of it. We're all one being, one consciousness, and we each have a little segment of it, that little piece of it that makes us feel like we're separate. And that is the conclusion I've come to after 40 years of study.
The journey is usually a lot more than the words that you put in the books. How would you look at your journey from the beginning to where you are now? Well,
I mentioned the very brief out-of-body experience I had, but I also, along the line, have had what would be called a mystical experience, or experience of mystery, where I suddenly kind of felt like, it's very hard to describe and put into words, but that I had connected with reality, that I had merged with it, and that I really understood what it was all about and everything. Now, coming back from that, you can't put it into words, but it's sort of like, you've heard of people that have these kind of revelations or epiphanies or whatever, that they just suddenly feel that it all makes sense and they understand. And when they come back from that, they're changed. And I had that experience. I was in my backyard of my house. I was just kind of meditating there and kind of daydreaming, and suddenly I had that feeling, that revelation, and I felt like I was looking at the trees, I was looking at the sky, I was looking at nature, and it all just seemed like one thing. I was looking at the outside of what was inside, if you will, and what was inside was this consciousness that was all pervasive, and I was part of it. I use a quote in my book that we're talking about, Afterlife, the Whole Truth, that talks about this young woman who, I think she was only 5 or 6 years old, and this was, she was on the moors in England and had that feeling where she saw nature, and that it was like, it was all consciousness, but here and there were more concentrated bits of consciousness in the wildflowers and things, and she just felt part of it, and it was all good. And that was the experience that I had. And so I guess that's when I really it all kind of came together for me. And again, I was probably in my 30s at that time, but that's when I really started writing about it. I didn't write this book until a couple of years ago, but I wrote some fiction that takes into account those things. And I wrote a book. I think the first one that was on metaphysics was called Beyond Skepticism, where I just documented a lot of what I had found out and learned. And I've been doing it now for quite a while. So I've got a bunch of books out there. If you want to, people want to go to my website, shmartin.com, click on the thing that says some of Steve's books, and it'll show you what I've written. I've got a bunch there. So, Dave, that's what happened. I had that experience.
That's just incredible in regards to it. And as you started just inquiring around family and friends, because we always seem to, what did you get from the people closest to you when you started asking questions about their opinion?
Well, I've got some friends that I made that are right with me on all this, that have had similar experiences. My older brother was one of them, who's passed on now, and a couple others, but a lot of people just, you can't even talk to them about it because they think you're crazy. They're still stuck back where I was before I had that first experience, where they think that it's, matter is all there is, and life is a one night stand, and you're born and then you live and you die and it's all over. It's too bad. Even people who are churchgoers don't really see it often the same way I do, with this idea of that consciousness is ubiquitous, that it's primordial, that it's where everything comes from. Their idea of God is that, he's a man with a long white beard up on a cloud somewhere, and, he's picking winners and losers, and that's not at all my concept of God. My concept of God is more like, I guess, the Hindus or whatever, where they, what do they call it? Brahman. It's this pervasive, infinite intelligence that exists, and we're part of it. We come from it. We're still attached to it, and that's how you can have psychic experiences. That's how you can. Some people are clairvoyant. Some people are able to see things at a distance because they're able to tap into that, and their mind goes beyond their own particular ego mind, and is able to go into that consciousness that's all pervasive. And some of those things I talk about in my book, about remote viewing, for example, which is something some people are able to do, and that the government, the United States government, has used to spy on the Soviets back in the Cold War era. I interviewed a guy named Skip Atwater, who set that program up for the United States government back in the early 70s. So it's real, and it's just that our culture doesn't recognize it. Other cultures do. Like I said, in India and in the East, it's kind of taken for granted, I think.
As society moves towards a more spiritual, less religious side, and what we are seeing here over the last decade or two, do you think people are moving away from a godlike being and trying to find their own niche in what they believe?
Well, I think the trends are definitely that away from mainstream Christianity, but that certainly, I think people are becoming perhaps more spiritual, if you want to call it that, where these things that I'm talking about are becoming known, and people have those experiences that, like I've had, and so I think that the population is waking up to a new reality. I think that it's going to take a while. I think that there are two things working against it happening. That is the traditional church, and I have nothing against the traditional church. I think there are plenty of people that go to traditional churches that are very spiritual and have that same view that I have. But I think there are a lot of them that don't, and the ones who don't are going to fight against the ones who do. And then on the other side, you've got scientific materialists, a lot of the scientific community that in itself has become a religion where they have doctrine. Matter is all that exists. Consciousness didn't exist until evolution produced a brain. When you die, you're dead and gone. And that is their religion, and they're going to fight against, places like that organization at the University of Virginia, Division of Perceptual Studies, that's studying and has come to the conclusion that the brain doesn't create consciousness. They're going to fight against them, and they can be really vicious. These atheists and scientific materialists will go on Amazon and just put 1-star reviews on some of my books because they don't want other people to read it. They just want to trash it because it's a threat to them. It's a threat to what they believe. It's like, and they are much more vicious than say, fundamentalist Christians who don't agree with you. Because I guess they don't feel like they'll ever have to pay the price for having been nasty. But so there's two sides that are kind of trying to hold it back, but it's happening, and I think it's going to happen. And I would say probably it'll take a generation or two more before it becomes pretty much accepted that the view that I have, that my book that we're talking about promotes, is going to be the accepted worldview, the reality of things. It's the way things are. I think it's only a matter of time. Arthur Schopenhauer, I think his name was, he was a German philosopher, once said that all truth goes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed, and third is it is accepted as self-evident. And we're right now in the violently opposed stage, but eventually we're going to get to the accepted as self-evident stage. It's just a matter of time because it is the truth.
We only got about 30 seconds left with you before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Author Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight. Life After Death. What do you think about pets? Pets going? Yeah.
Yeah, I think pets are going. I think all living things go through an afterlife. I think that consciousness is something that cannot be destroyed. I mean, it changes form. It's like energy. It is energy. It is a form of energy, and pets, they are plenty on the other side too. And right. People who see the little creatures in the forest and stuff that are, what do they call them? They're probably
hold that thought. We're going to go to break here. Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We continue right after this.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have you with us. Tonight we are talking life after death. Our guest, award-winning author Stephen Hawley Martin, his latest book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth. We're going to get into that here starting right now. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave.
We should also mention your website, shmartin.com, if you want to pick up one of those great books. Absolutely. What's it like being an award-winning author, right? What's that like?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I can't think of anything I'd rather do or be.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, congratulations to you for that. You know, we're going to be talking a lot about life after death in your book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth, volumes 1 and 2 there. I got to ask you in regards to this, as you were starting to compile information and stories that you were wanting to put in here, what angle were you looking for?
Well, my objective in writing the book is to convince the reader that he or she is eternal, is an eternal soul that is going to be around for a long, long time. And once you come to that realization, it really can, if you haven't realized that before, it's going to change your life. It's going to change how you see life and what you do with your life, because you want to become the person that you'd like to be with for eternity, because that's how long you're going to be around. And so that was my, if you read the preface of the book or the foreword, that's what I say. I mean, this book is meant to tell you who you really are. And that's what my objective was. And I hope I've accomplished that. It's something I believe, and I think it's something that's very, very probably more important than anything else for each of us to know and to realize, and that's what I've tried to do. So Afterlife, The Whole Truth, that's the book. If you go to my website, shmartin.com, there's the cover of the book is on the home page. You can click on that. It'll take you to Amazon where you can get the book.
When you started looking into this and you started figuring out what the truth was, did you go in with a preconceived notion of where you wanted the stories to take you, or were you just gathering information and seeing where it went?
I would say the latter. I was gathering information. It was for my own. I really didn't do it to write the book as much as I did it for myself. I was doing it to convince, for myself to find the truth. As we said in the earlier part of the show, I started out life as an agnostic or an atheist. I didn't believe in an afterlife. I didn't believe in much of anything except, you might as well have a good time while you're here because, this is it. That was my belief up until I really started digging into this and had certain experiences that I've talked about and started studying this. And once I got into it, I just kept going and going and finding these stories and finding this evidence and research that had been done by others. And I just compiled all this stuff and then really organized it and put it into this book. And there's a lot of interesting things in there that I hope people will enjoy reading and it'll be edifying to them.
As you started to gather and compile evidence for this book, what do you as an author writing about such an emotional topic like life and death, what is evidence to you?
Well, I think the most powerful evidence is the research that has been done by the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia. This is a organization that was actually started by a Canadian, a man named Ian Stevenson. He was a graduate of McGill University Medical School. I believe he was first in his class. And he was a professor at the University of Virginia in the medical school. He was a psychiatrist. He died in 2007. I believe he was probably in his 80s. But back in 1960, he found these stories of children who had memories of past lives, and he started investigating them. And he wrote a book, I think his first book came out in 1966, called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation. Then in 1967, the man who invented the Xerox machine, I don't remember his name, gave the University of Virginia a big pot of money to start this division of perceptual studies to study afterlife and reincarnation, those kinds of things. And so Ian Stevenson became the head of that in 1967. That division is still going strong, and they have investigated over 2,500 cases of children who remember past lives, have gone to have taken the information the children come up with and to see whether it fits any personality or person that lived before. And they've solved over about half of those cases. In other words, the names, dates, the people, events, and so forth that the child mentioned do match up with an individual who would fit the time period that's supposedly the child remembers and the life that the child remembers. They've also investigated near-death experiences. They've investigated many, many cases of people who had some sort of a brain disease, Alzheimer's or whatever, and yet right before, maybe hours before, the day before they die, they become lucid again, and it's like their brain is letting their mind go, and so that they become lucid again before they die. They've also looked into a number of cases. I think they've got several hundred where people that have almost no brain tissue because of one reason or other are still able to function normally and even sometimes have above average intelligence. So they've done a number of things, and all these studies point to, and they've come to the conclusion finally and have come out publicly and said, the brain does not create consciousness. The brain is a receptor. It's a receiver of consciousness. Your consciousness exists somewhere else. And your brain integrates it with your body. So that, to me, is the most convincing research and the studies that have been done. They've been at it for over 50 years, and they've got a lot of documentation.
I want to ask you about children, because we're dealing with a very innocent crowd here. When you get a 3, 4, 5-year-old child, maybe 6, 7, who is recalling an afterlife, another death, or something along those lines that really shouldn't be in that child's vocabulary. We've heard these stories before, everything from children running around the forests of a life back in the 1800s to more recently we've seen a lot of stories coming out, and I hate to bring this up as an effect for publicity, but there's many stories out there now of where you hear of children who claim that they recall dying on 9/11, and it happens. And a lot of children, like I know if I look at my child, and he's 6 years old, we don't watch TV in our house. We don't have cable, and if it comes to YouTube, he's got his kids' shows that he likes to watch. And I look at that and I think there is no way, if my son came to me to talk to me about something like that he would have any perception or knowledge of this. And I think most parents are like that. We watch what our children are watching on TV for the most part. And I believe that a lot of these stories and cases are true. When it comes to children, is that where we need to base our studies regarding this because of the innocence of what they know or do not know?
Well, I think that the reason that the University of Virginia studies children's memories of past lives is that sometimes adults do have flashbacks of past lives. I know I have a friend who's had that happen. But children are likely the ones to remember. I mean, and it usually happens between the ages of 2 and 6. And and after that, the memories fade. But and when you look at the case histories that the University of Virginia has studied, they tend to be children whose past life was cut short in some way. They might have been murdered. They may have been killed in a war. That could have been, like you said, something like 9/11, a great tragedy. But they typically come back faster than I think probably is normal for reincarnation. And the average return of one of these children is something like 15 months, which is really pretty quick, when you figure it takes 9 months of pregnancy. Now, there are outliers. There's one very famous case that's more like 50 years. That was a pilot of a fighter plane in World War II, was shot down at Iwo Jima, and he remembered a lot of stuff, like the name of the aircraft carrier, the name of his friends on the ship, the all kinds of stuff that he came up with that checked out when they investigated it. But I think it's because there are just more cases of children that do remember a past life, and then so that gives them more cases to study. And I think probably my own personal theory is the reason they remember is because they came back so quickly. I think that there's probably a process that typically goes through between lives where your past life experience, the most recent life experience, is sort of integrated into your soul, if you want to use that term, and becomes part of you, but not something that you are going to consciously remember when you come back. Whereas this child who maybe was killed in 9/11 comes back pretty quickly. Those memories are still fresh and they haven't been integrated, or you were sort of put into the subconscious mind that of that individual or entity. So, I mean, that's my theory. So what do you think?
I have no clue. It scares the daylights out of me even thinking or hearing. And I've seen children, videos of children and interviews with children going over what they recall. And if I recall correctly, I believe just a few years ago in India, where they are very, very strong believers of reincarnation, that a young person came back and actually found his killer from his previous life, and the person was actually convicted of murder because of the child coming back from reincarnation and telling the police what happened. And it was a very well-known case.
Yeah. There are some stories like that in the UVA. Back when Ian Stevenson first started doing this research, a lot of his cases were in the Far East, in India, and places where reincarnation is accepted. That's because perhaps the parents, would be more likely to believe the child. Whereas if you're an American and you're in a Baptist family and somebody starts talking about reincarnation, they say, "Oh, you're just dreaming." That can't be true. So yeah, and I think they have one or two cases where the person was murdered and was able to identify their murderer when they were a child. So I didn't know that they actually had any who were convicted, but that makes sense.
Have you ever discussed this topic with a child and heard it firsthand for yourself?
No, I have not. I have to admit that. I have not ever discussed it with a child. It would be interesting to do that, though. I'd like to see some of those videos that you've talked about. Be interesting.
There, just type them in on YouTube, child reincarnation. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I've done that before for research on other shows about reincarnation, and it's quite emotional and incredible at the same time when you go through a topic like that. But as far as children go, why do we want to believe children that this actually happened to them in reincarnation rather than just saying it's a vivid imagination? Because let's face it, a child's mind, if I put my skeptical hat on for a second and take off my tinfoil hat, a child's mind is so enriched so quickly between the ages of 2 and 7 that they pick up information faster than a computer at times. And I'm being a little facetious there, of course, but how do we know that they didn't see something over the parent's shoulder about a certain topic on YouTube or on the news or something along those lines and just start the memories flowing?
Well, my guess would be that does happen, but in the cases that UVA has studied, what they'll do is they'll try to get information from that child as soon as possible before he or she gets contaminated, if you want to use that word too, and write down specific things like names, places, names of relatives, names of the person, a time period, and then go back and see if there was somebody with that name, and if they had a sister with that name and a brother with that name, and if they lived in a town with that name, and so forth. And when they start matching up all those things, that's not, if the town is 50 miles away and the child lives in a town 50 miles away and is able to tell you where the street that they lived on and the name of the person who owned the house and the brother and the sister and so on, then you figure that's not something that they could have looked over the shoulder of somebody and found out. That's what UVA would say is a solved case when they can put all those things together.
I have a friend of mine whose daughter who went to school with my daughter. And these girls will now be 21 years old this year. From the time she was 2 years old, she has talked about the Titanic. Even giving a name to what her name was. She drew boats on the Titanic. She used to tell her mom how she drowned on the Titanic, how she died, and the cold water, and it was scary, and it was dark, and everything that goes along with that. And it's funny because my friend took her daughter when she was a teenager to a Titanic exhibit when they were visiting Las Vegas, and they actually found the name the daughter had given.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a child. Yeah. The name that she gave as a child, not as a teenager. Yeah.
Now that's something. And, the Titanic was 1912, so that'd be quite a long period of time between that death and the birth if the child's 21 now. But that happens. I mean, the one I talked about of the fighter pilot who was shot down in World War II was 1945, the Battle of Iwo Jima. And that child was born in 1998 or 99. So it can be a while, but as I said, it's usually pretty quick based on on the children that actually do remember. Usually they come back pretty fast. The 9/11 is interesting. I hadn't heard that. Tell me more about that.
There was a study on YouTube about it, and it was in a documentary style of mothers whose children claimed to be victims of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you hear some of the stories of the children talking about falling and the building crumbling all around them, it's pretty scary. They actually got the children on camera doing that.
Wow, that's something. That's very interesting. But I'm not surprised. I mean, I would think that would be the case.
Yeah, it's absolutely scary. It's absolutely scary when you think about that, because you don't expect that to happen. You don't expect, a 4, 5, 6-year-old child talking about it. The documentary is actually called "The Ghost Inside My Child. A Boy Remembers His Past Life." I mean, that's where, it's pretty scary when you watch this little youngster talking about that situation, and the mother leading to believe that her child was previously killed on that day. And I'm always a little skeptical to talk about that because, I mean, let's face it, that was such a heart-wrenching time in 2001 when that happened that you don't want to see anybody try and take advantage of that situation. And yet
right.
here it is, right? And how do you not discuss that if it's right there?
Yeah. Well, speaking of videos on YouTube and reincarnation, one that I saw not too long ago that I thought was pretty fascinating was a girl who believes that she was Anne Frank, Diary of Anne Frank. And was able to go to Amsterdam or whatever, and had never been there before, but knew the different streets and where things were and stuff like that. There were a number of things that were pretty eerie about that, how that could possibly be. But why not? If reincarnation is a real thing, and I believe it is, it makes sense.
We've got about a minute here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Author Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight, talking life after death. In regards to reincarnation, as we quickly, before we get going here, do you believe everybody reincarnates? Like the souls just continue to rotate?
I think for the most part that's true, although I do think there comes a time when you no longer do. Edgar Cayce, if you know who he was, I'm sure he did readings for thousands of people, but there were at least 8, according to what I've read, that 8 people that he said this was their last incarnation. So eventually you graduate on to something else.
Well, Lord knows I could use some graduation from where I am right now, because I'm sure there's a big laughingstock way up there wherever they are looking down at me saying, look at this guy hosting a paranormal radio show on a nightly basis. What kind of geek is this? I could just see it now. Author, award-winning author, let's call him award-winning author, Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight. His book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth. We're going to get into that more when we come back on the other side of the break in Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in. Chuck and the crew at KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We say hi to Joe Montaldo and friends there. And KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Malopapon. Malopapon is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and of course, Captain Shirk has you all up to date with the SOR Newswire. Tonight we are talking life after death. Our guest is award-winning author Stephen Hawley Martin, his latest book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth. We're going to get to some of that truth right now. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave. I'm enjoying it.
These are the kind of friends I have. As I'm reading the intro, my good buddy Bazooka Joe messages me. And he says, just had a message sent to me. You're going to get probed by aliens tonight. That's the kind of friends I have, my friend. It's terrible. Terrible. Anyhow, let's move on. Life after death. What happens when we die? Talk to me, Stephen.
What happens when we die? Oh, well, the first thing you realize is that, first off, you need to know these things because people who don't, atheists who die, may get confused and not even realize they're dead. I think there was a Twilight Zone back in, whenever it came out 60 years ago that had that situation where this lady was in a automobile accident and was dead and didn't know it for quite a while. But it does happen. And but though, if you know that you're dead, first thing you're going to realize is that you're dead. You're going to see your body. You're going to look down or look, and you're going to see it there. And then what you need to do is to look for the light. People who have had near-death experiences, for example, say that they find themselves often in a kind of tunnel with a point of light at the end, and they feel drawn toward that, and they go toward it. And when they get to it, they go into what I think Robert Monroe, the guy who wrote Journeys Out of the Body, called the reception center, which is an area that's kind of white. And you will probably see relatives there that have gone before. They'll be greeting you, maybe your mom and dad if they've already gone before you. You may see your Uncle Joe and your grandmother. There's a great story that I recount in my book here of Pam Reynolds, who was operated on for an aneurysm in her brain, and they drained all the blood out of her body so that they could operate on her brain. And she was literally a cadaver being operated on. And when she popped out of her head, she was able to describe what was going on in the operating room. She saw that light, felt drawn toward it, heard her grandmother calling to her. She got there and was reunited with her grandmother and with an uncle who had gone before. And so those are the first things that happen. Eventually, people who are clinically dead for a while typically have a past life review where their whole life, and they say it's like a great panorama. All the events in their life are spread out before them. They're able to see them all at once. One man just said that it would have taken weeks for it to happen in real time. This guy was dead for 9 minutes, but he saw it all. And you experience what others experience because of things that you did, both good and bad. If you were loving towards someone, you feel what they felt as a result of that. If you were angry towards someone or mean towards someone, you feel what they felt toward that. And that past life review is typically part of most of these really good NDEs, near-death experiences that people come back and tell us about. And what happens after that? Of course, most people who have a near-death experience don't really go much beyond that because they eventually come back. But according to my research, there's a gentleman named Michael Newton who wrote several books. He was a past life regression therapy. He would hypnotize people, and he was kind of a psychiatrist, I guess, or a psychologist who would hypnotize people, take them to a past life where they had phobias or something they were trying to get rid of, and he would be able to do his therapy by bringing out that information. And according to his patients, most of us belong to a sort of soul group of others who are at the same stage of evolution, if you will, of development of the soul. And this soul group is also likely to be people that you know who are alive and with you, like your wife or your daughters or your husband or your children or grandchildren, your extended family or friends and so forth. But in the afterlife, or in between life, I should say, they're part of your soul group. And that's kind of where you live. But I think that also the afterlife is different for different people. I think it's depending on your culture, depending on your beliefs. It's a mental realm. And so in a way, you create whatever it is that's around you. I like Emanuel Swedenborg's idea of the afterlife. He was a Swiss scientist and theologian and was apparently able to go back and forth between this life and the afterlife when he was alive, and wrote extensively about it. And he maintained that there were different levels of the afterlife that you went to, and you really ended up wherever it was you felt comfortable. And mean, bad people went and were with mean, bad people, and loving people were with loving people, and so on and so forth. So you go where you feel you belong and where you feel comfortable, and that's what your surroundings are. And eventually, of course, most of us come back, and we pick our parents. We decide when and where we want to reincarnate, and we usually have a goal or a mission or something we want to learn that we come here to do. And I think one of the most important things that I've learned from all this, my studies, is that we really ought to try to figure out what that is if we haven't done already. Why are we here? What are we here to learn? What are we here to accomplish? Do we have a particular mission? Are we on the track to complete that? Are we working toward it? That sort of thing. So that's my view of it, Dave. How do you react to that?
I would agree with the exact same studies with you, but I am confused on one part, and this leads to a question from the LGAB chat room that we have going, because in hour 2, Stephen, we like to include some questions from our chat rooms that follow us. KSM is asking, and I have this same question too, what about people who commit suicide? What happens to them? We always hear these stories from religious people who state that if you commit suicide, you're pretty much guaranteed a one-way ticket to hell or into purgatory for a long, long time because you shouldn't take your own life. What have you noticed about those studies?
Well, I don't agree that that's what happens. I think that what I've learned, and I have a friend who I've talked with at great length, who remembers a couple of past lives, and in one he did commit suicide, and he I'll tell you that story. But I think that probably you're comforted. You're a troubled soul if you committed suicide, and I think that when you pass over to the other side, rather than being punished, you're going to be comforted and tried to make you feel better. This friend who committed suicide in 1930 something, he lived in Luxembourg at the time, and it's interesting because he had a birthmark where the entry bullet went in and kind of the splatter birthmark on the other side of his head. But he, at the age of 16, he's now probably close to 70. At the age of 16, he was lying in bed. He had a friend over visiting him, spending the night, was in the other bed, and he was troubled because he had fallen in love with his best friend, who happened to be another best girlfriend, and the girlfriend had indicated to him that she had feelings to him, and he was very upset about that because, he was loyal to his friend, but he really liked this girl, and he was kind of lying there saying, thinking, I wish I was never born. I wish I was dead or something like that. And suddenly he felt like he was yanked out of his body and pulled up above the ceiling, up above the sky. He could see the arc of the earth, and was suddenly in another realm. And these dots of light came to him, and he said he was like in a different place. And they came to him and said, and he said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're your guides. We're your guides." And they said, he said, "Well, what are guides?" And he said, "Well, we're part of you, but we're not part of you." And he said, "Well, why am I here?" And they said, "You're here because we want to tell you that your life is your own." And he said, "My life is my own?" Well, I thought that already. I didn't, I don't need to be told that. He said, "You can do what you want with your life, and nobody is going to judge you. But let's say this, if you decide to end your life, you cannot end your life. There is only life. If you decide to kill yourself, you will simply have to," and I'm kind of short-circuiting this whole thing to cut to the chase, "you're just going to have to go back and do it again. You're going to have to experience the same situations again, and you're going to have to get through it. Because if you once you start on a particular curriculum, you've got to complete it. And so anyway, long story short was he went back to his body. He woke up the next morning. He took a job later in the week as a swimming pool. He met another girl. He started dating her. He forgot about the other one. But he realized that if you do something like that, commit suicide, you're going to have to go back and do it again until you get it right. It's like Groundhog Day. You remember that movie with Bill Murray where he keeps running into the same situation over and over again every day until he finally gets it right. And when he finally gets it right, he's able to move on to February 3. So that's what life is like. And so unfortunately, and one of the things that I forgot to say that the guides told him was it's a waste of time to commit suicide because you got to go through it again and you got to get it right. So don't waste time. Don't commit suicide. It's a waste of time. You got to come back and deal with the same kind of thing again until you're able to live through it.
My goodness. I mean, I'd hate to be that person who would be like, son of a gun, you know, I took my own life the last time because I didn't want this crap happening, and here we go again. My goodness.
That's right. That's right. So that's my take on suicide.
So what's your opinion on heaven?
Well, you know, we mentioned in the last segment that Edgar Casey, who did something like 14,000 readings, about a little less than half of them were life readings where he talked about people's past lives and so forth, said that there were at least 8 who he said was their last incarnation. Maybe those people are moving on to heaven, but I would think the life between life is also a kind of heaven, although, and I don't think there's a hell where you burn like the typical depiction of hell with hellfire and brimstone and a devil with a pitchfork and a pointed tail and horns and stuff. I don't think that's true. I think that you go where you feel comfortable, and that when your soul is eventually evolved, you're going to go wherever it is that you feel comfortable. And that's going to be a great place because it's where that's going to be your heaven. I mean, to me, that's what it is. It's a place that you want to be, that you are able to do what you want to do. And it's a mental realm. So you create it with your own thoughts.
I'm a little surprised by that you create that with your own thoughts. Can you go into more definition on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one guy that I think a lot of in terms of his theories and so forth is Rupert Sheldrake. And Rupert Sheldrake, of course, is the guy who came up with the idea of morphogenetic fields, which I guess we would call ghosts or whatever. That he believed he's a biochemist. He's a Brit, a graduate of either Cambridge or Oxford, and he has a theory of how this morphic genetic field, which is you. And your genes are what create your body when you're in the womb. And but his idea of afterlife or between life is that it is like a dream, but more like a lucid dream, where you there are other beings there and so forth, just as there are in your dream, but it's created by you. It's hard for me to explain that, but it's like a lucid dream. If you ever had a lucid dream, you know what I'm talking about, where it's very real, but it can be what you want it to be.
Vivian is asking if you've ever read the book from Michael Newton on this subject, and if so, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I've read Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And I think, I believe I found both of those books fascinating and very illuminating. I think that it's true that we do probably have, of course, he's the guy who says that we have groups of souls that are in the same stages of development and evolution, and that's that those when we're between lives, that we're with them, and even when we're in the physical realm, those same souls tend to be the people who are around us, that are part of our families and friends and so forth, and we incarnate together because we're all working together to advance and to grow. And so, I've read those books, and I recommend them. I think that they're very illuminating. Michael Newton, hypnotized people and took them to past lives to help them rid them of phobias and problems that they had. And that's kind of the same thing with Edgar Cayce. But of course, Edgar Cayce would just describe a past life for somebody that was meaningful for them, that could give them some insight into what was going on in their psyche because of experiences they'd had in the past.
So what about people who express demonic activity or poltergeist activity in the paranormal? If hell is a subject of what our mind creates, how does that happen with demons and that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that poltergeist activity, of course, is not necessary. Poltergeist in the sense of things flying around and plates and dishes and stuff. That's probably not ghosts. That's more some psychic activity. It's usually teenagers that are going through puberty or something that cause that. But there are hauntings. There are situations where there are people, ghosts, I guess you would call them, who are stuck. And that tends to be, I think, people who have died who don't realize they're dead, or they realize they're dead, but they don't want to go on to the light because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them if they do. And so they stick around and cause troubles or hauntings or whatever. And I do believe that spirit possession happens. I've read up on that. I've done a lot of research, and I've interviewed a couple of psychiatrists whose one of the things they do is, and they don't do this in a religious way, but try to depossess people who have spirit attachments. Could be one example would be a grandfather or somebody who's kind of hanging around.
That's right. Stephen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We'll finish that answer when we come back. Life after death, what happens? More with Stephen Hawley Martin right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com. At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there. You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have you with us. Reminder, if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Tonight we are talking life after death. Award-winning author Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight. His book, Afterlife, The Whole Truth, is what we were talking about. And right before the break, Stephen, we were talking in regards to demons, poltergeists, heaven, hell. Let's get back into it. You were talking about the experiences people were having in regards to whether or not it was all a figment of their own creation.
Well, I don't think it is necessarily. I'm sure that figments do happen, but I think that possessions do happen as well. I think that there are or can be spirits hanging around that haven't moved on and are still pretty close to us in proximity around us, and that someone who is maybe vulnerable because they're sick or they're weak or they even may invite the problem in, can be possessed, actually. Although it doesn't always, according to the psychiatrists I've talked with who deal with this problem of possession or obsession, there are different levels of it where it can range from just kind of person getting thoughts that are destructive or not productive, all the way to having their body completely taken over by a spirit, which is very rare, but does apparently happen. You know, the Catholic Church still does exorcisms, and there are psychiatrists, and I've talked to two different ones who deal with this as well on a more secular level, where it could be a relative who's passed away who's just still hanging around, but they've got some issues and some problems, and those kind of issues and problems, because they're hanging around a particular person, become that person's issues and problems as well. So if somebody has got something like that's bothering them, they need to see a professional to try to get help. And one that I've talked to is a lady who's a psychiatrist. She's actually from India. I'm trying to remember her name, but she's in West Virginia, I believe. And that's what she does. She's written a book called The Psychiatrist Discovers, Remarkable Healings. I found it. Her name is Shakuntala Modi, M-O-D-I. M-O-D-I is her last name. She's a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, and she's written a book called Remarkable Healings. A psychiatrist discovers unsuspected roots of mental and physical illness. That's her book. And in that, she talks about the patients she's had who have either been obsessed or possessed by spirits, often a family member who's passed on who's still hanging around them. So, yeah, it does happen. And then there probably are just bad guys out there who'd like to do people harm, like somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer as a spirit. Imagine having him around. you that would not be.
Now, that would be an interesting reincarnation case. Like, you take some of these people like Dahmer or Ted Bundy or some of these serial killers, and I mean this question with all due respect as well. When they come back, if reincarnation is real, why the hell would they be allowed back?
Yeah, I don't know that they are. One of the things that Edgar Casey said was that people like that who are really screwed up go through some kind of a cleansing process on the other side where they're like recast or whatever. It's sort of like they go through it's like you take a piece of metal and you melt it down and you recast it. That's kind of the image in my mind. But yeah, maybe they don't come back. Although there's still a lot of bad guys around out there, and maybe they are the reincarnations of evil people from the past. I don't know. I just don't know. But I like to think that Edgar Casey was right about that they get redone, they get remade or somehow, so that they get all that bad stuff out of them and before they come back. I hope that's the case. Anyway.
We always hear these stories of heroic tales of soldiers on the battlefield, and this leads to Star's question in the LGAB chat room. She says, what if a person sacrifices his or her life in order to save another or others, such as in combat, for example? I mean, when somebody makes the ultimate sacrifice to save their fellow troops and friends and brothers and sisters, you'd have to think that there has to be some good on the other side for them.
Oh, I would think absolutely. One of the things that apparently the past life review, which is part of what happens over there, is that you see what your life was and what effect you had on others, and both good and bad, and certainly they would be rewarded in that regard when they had done something that was where they saved others. What the ramifications of that were, what not just what that person felt at the moment that they were saved, but what generations of people that came after that person felt because of it. If a person had been killed or wounded and was not, there are a lot of good things that would come about probably because of that, and that's something that would be seen in that life review. There's one. This is a story that I tell in this book where there was a guy who had real anger issues who was in a traffic accident, and it was not his fault. Somebody had pulled out in front of him, and he had a crash, and the anger issue guy got out of the car and went over to the one who ran into him and pulled the guy out and beat him up. And he hurt him badly, and he was punished. I think he probably went to jail for assault and battery or whatever, but later on, he had a near-death experience where he had a life review. And in that life review, he saw not only what the ramifications of him having beaten that guy up were to that guy, but to that guy's family and his children, because the man was injured so badly he wasn't able to work. Therefore, the children had to go work sooner. They couldn't go to college. The wife had to go out and get a job. I mean, all the ramifications of that were brought home to this guy because during his life review. And it went, it was quite an impressive and thing that just changed his life when he came back from death. He realized the implications, and it turned him around completely. He no longer had those anger issues. Well, I would say probably that the good that somebody does, also they're going to see all the ramifications of it on the other side. So, and then when they come back the next time, if they do come back in another life, I would think that they have the pick of the litter as far as who they'd come back to be. I would think. So that's my thought on that.
John on Twitter, getting back to the serial killer question, he is asking at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, what if the life of a serial killer is a life we all have to live once? Wouldn't it be part of the human experience?
Well, that's a good question, and one I really hadn't thought about. But I think we do need to experience just about everything, but I don't think we have to ever be evil. I just don't think that's, my belief is that love really is the answer. And, that sounds trite, but it's true. And that what we're trying to evolve toward is to be people who follow the golden rule, do unto others as others would do unto you. And that really, if everybody did that, we'd have heaven on earth. And I think that's what we're evolving towards. So I don't buy that you would ever have to be a serial killer. I just don't think that. I think those are anomalies. People like that are anomalies. There's something there. They just went off the track somewhere. That's not a way to evolve. That's devolving.
We've got about 10 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Stephen Hawley Martin is our guest tonight. We're talking life after death. Flipping the sides here, as we talked about the darker side of everything, let's go to the lighter side where we talked about angels and heaven. Earlier on, you mentioned a little bit about heaven, but what about angels and miracles? Are those part of the life experience that people are seeing, or is it much like what we think about demons, that they could be made self-aware? Because we hear a lot about spirit guides on this show. We hear a lot about angels and cherubs and cherubim and everything that goes along with it.
Well, I think that those, this is something that I'm not totally sure about. I think that there's one idea that angels are beings who have never incarnated, who've always been on the other side, and their love and so forth is who they are. But on the other hand, perhaps they're just very evolved humans who no longer incarnate and play that role. And I think that we all do have spirit guides who would, in the Christian ideas, that they're guardian angels. Spirit guides and guardian angels would be synonymous. So I think they do exist. And I do think that there are humans that have evolved to the point where they no longer incarnate and perhaps are like ascended masters or whatever. I think that there are angels, and that I think that prayer, one of the things that I talk about in this book, Afterlife, the Whole Truth, is prayer. That there have been studies done that show that it does, in fact, work. And you need to be going in the direction of the life force with your prayers. You're seeking harmony, you're seeking healing, you're seeking good things. But that somehow the intention that a human being has, and particularly if there's more than one, if there are a bunch of people praying for the same thing, that it does have a positive effect. And that there have been studies done, one by Columbia University Medical School, that shows, for example, this particular study that comes to mind is one where people were praying for in vitro pregnancies by women who were having trouble getting pregnant. And the ones who were prayed for had twice the frequency of pregnancy, twice as many pregnancies per capita as those who were not prayed for. So that indicated that that's something that life and harmony and health and so forth are things that prayer can affect. There's a lot to that, and I think that angels maybe are playing a role in that. I don't know how it works exactly, but it's possible. that they do exist and that they're involved in our lives and certainly looking over us in the sense that they're spirit guides or guardian angels.
So are you a believer in prayer then?
Yes, I am. I believe that it works. I think that it has to be you can't just, this is hard for me to put into words, but it needs to be open-ended in the sense that we don't know as human beings what the best outcome of any particular situation is. And so when we pray for a particular outcome, it may not be the best outcome. And so your prayers could actually be counterproductive when that's the case. I think the prayers need to be for the best outcome rather than a specific outcome. Let's put it that way. And that can and does can help and often does help, and particularly when it's more than one person praying. I think back to a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was certainly not a spiritual book. But one of the things he says in there is that when there are a group of people together who have a common goal and a common mission, things start to click and happen that make that more likely to come to be. And I think that's kind of what prayer is. That he likened it to storage batteries that are hooked up in a whole bunch of them together create more power than one or by itself or individual ones by themselves. And I think that's what human minds are like. When we can be together on something and have a common goal, and that includes prayer, it's going to be more effective. So that's my thought on that.
One quick question before we move on here in regards to prayer. Do you think the mass consciousness use of prayer can help move mountains or stop storms like tornadoes or fires in Australia?
I think that would be pretty hard. I don't think it could move. I think that moving mountains thing is a metaphor. Jesus said.
Yes, that's what I meant it as.
Yeah, I think that's a metaphor. Stopping fires, can it change the weather? Maybe, but I don't. Again, that's praying for a particular outcome. Maybe the fires in Australia are a good thing in some way, and they're certainly not good for the thousands of people whose homes have been burned. But sometimes you need to wipe away something and start over. I don't know. How do we know what the best outcome is? And that's why I say it needs to be open-ended. I think that praying for a hurricane to move in one direction or other, that seems to me to be a little bit far out there. I don't know that can happen, but I could be wrong.
Well, some people believe very, very strongly in it. The power of positive thinking. I guess that's where it kind of leads to.
I think the power of positive thinking is absolutely right on. I think that we, in this reality, create our own reality with our thoughts. There's a great little book by a guy named James Allen called As a Man Thinketh. I think he wrote it in 1912 or something like that. It's a short little book, but everybody ought to read it because it brings home the fact that what's in our mind is what becomes our reality and what we're surrounded by. If we think we're a sickly person and that we catch a cold easily and this and that, then that's going to be who we are and what we are. If we think that we're lucky and that things are going to go away, they're much more likely to go our way. I mean, I just think that the mind does create our reality, both in our physical reality here on Earth and in the afterlife or between life. I think that mind really is everything. It's the ground of being, and that we're connected, all connected, and the thoughts we put into our reality become our reality.
Is the mind more powerful with consciousness than religious belief itself?
I think that we create our own God. If we have in mind that if we believe in a God who punishes us for our transgressions, we're going to be punished by our transgressions. If we believe in a God that loves us and forgives us and wants the best for us, that's going to be our experience. I think that our thoughts create our reality, and therefore our belief, our religion, our belief in God, or if we believe there's no God and that everything is random and happens by chance, that's going to be our reality. I think we create our reality with our thoughts, and so you can't say that somebody's wrong because they believe one thing, because that's what they're going to get. So what I think we ought to do is believe that God loves us, that he wants the best for us, that if we are kind to others, they're going to be kind to us. I think karma is a real thing, that, what goes around comes around. What you send out comes back to you. And that's what life's about. If you're a grumpy, mean person, people are going to be grumpy and mean back to you. If you're a happy person and a helping person, then people are going to be happy and healthy towards you. I mean, it's just, you get back what you give out. What do you think?
I think that there is some kind of divine power out there. I call it God. That's what I grew up to believe, and that's what's kind of guided me. I don't believe in the all 9,600 gods out there or whatever. I think we're all talking about the same one in one way or another. But I think, considering that God is omnipotent, that we can say that he is everything at once. That's my personal belief. That being said, I long time ago drew a very strict line for myself between religion and my own spirituality and faith, which I don't really push on anybody, but I find that the religious side of everything, for me, is just way too hypocritical, because I grew up in a religious town. I saw all the religious boys and girls, what they were doing on the weekends, because I was hanging out with them. And trust me, it wasn't very Christian, to say the least. And, and what you see in the media and everything along those lines, well, it just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. It really did.
Yeah, well, I can certainly understand that. It makes sense. I mean, but I believe that there is an infinite mind, infinite intelligence, and you can call it God. I sometimes call it God in my book. But that's what God is. God is it created this reality, and we are offspring of God, and we were created to really be co-creators with God. And that's
right. I'm gonna get you to stop right there. We got to get out for commercial break right now on Spaced Out Radio.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. We also want to give a shout out to Susan in our chat room. It's her birthday. She's here every night chatting with us. We love you, Susan, and we hope that you have just one of the happiest birthdays ever. Happy birthday to you, my dear. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you could check out all of our archives for free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mellow Pepin. Mellow Pepin is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. You can grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month. And, of course, you can always read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce Stephen Hawley Martin. He's an award-winning author on Amazon, as he's got a great book out, Afterlife, The Whole Truth. And we've been learning about it tonight. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here, Dave. I'm enjoying it, too.
It's been a lot of fun. Right before the break, we were talking about angels, but I want to look at the scientific side of everything here for a moment. There's been numerous medical studies done on the near-death experience or people who have died and come back. And we've seen doctors from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and many Ivy League schools looking into this. This is a topic that they are taking very seriously, some of the brightest minds in the medical field. Have you talked to any doctors in regards to this type of study, life after death?
Yeah, well, I have. I've spoken 2 times with Dr. Jim B. Tucker at the University of Virginia. He's a child psychiatrist, and he is also now director of the Division of Perceptual Studies, which studies near-death experiences as well as the reincarnation in terms of the children who remember past lives. And he has written 2 books on the subject. One is called Afterlife, and I don't recall the other one, but it's Jim B. Tucker. And it's interesting. He's from North Carolina. He went to the University of North Carolina. He grew up in a family of Southern Baptist family, which, of course, That certainly Christianity doesn't accept reincarnation as they rejected that back at the, I think there was a Council of Constantinople in 553, where the bishops voted on it and voted to eliminate Christianity from reincarnation from Christianity. But Jim B. Tucker says that in terms of the studies that he's done, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, the University of Virginia studied over 2,500 cases of children who remember past lives. He says that you can argue and find reasons why maybe any one particular case might not be indicative of reincarnation or be true, where reincarnation may not be the reason. But when you put it all together, he is convinced that there can be no other explanation for the phenomena that he's been studying. So he is convinced that it is a real thing.
Many doctors refuse to go on the record about patients who come back and tell stories of seeing themselves on the operating table, repeating what doctors have said to them, or not to them, but in the operating rooms, and scared the doctors and the nurses so badly that they're not sure how to answer that. I mean, it can only be marked down as a miracle that the person is alive once again. When you hear stories from the medical field like this, why do you think so many doctors are still refuting this possibility of life after death?
Well, I think it's really quite simple. Scientific materialism is the reason. The scientific community back in the mid-19th century decided, I think really based on Darwinism, that God didn't exist, that the only thing that exists is physical substance. And this has become their religion. And so it's like if you went to a priest and asked him about reincarnation, he'd say, no, it's not real. It's not part of our doctrine. Well, you go to a scientist who is a scientific materialist and say that a person was out of their body, their consciousness was out of their body and was watching what was going on in the operating room, they would say, no, that can't happen because the brain creates consciousness. Well, the fact of the matter is the brain does not create consciousness, and scientific materialism is wrong and needs to be updated. And there are plenty of studies beyond near-death experiences that show that the brain is not confined within the skull. One of them is the double slit experiment in quantum mechanics, where the researcher who is conducting the experiment, what he knows or doesn't know changes the outcome of the experiment. How can thought that stays inside somebody's head change the outcome of an experiment? It can't. But yet scientific materialists cling to that doctrine of theirs that the brain creates consciousness and that nothing exists except material substance. They need to update their religion, but they're not going to because it's their religion. That's as simple as that, really.
So when they are looking at this, and I realize they have to put the scientific hat on, there's not really enough time for the woo, as we like to call it in this field, but I do believe that some doctors are starting to open up to it. And it does have a lot of pull when you see these major medical facilities looking into this subject, correct?
Well, absolutely. And I think that it's changing. I think that that a new worldview, a new paradigm is emerging. And as we discussed earlier, on the one side, you've got scientific materialists fighting against it. And on the other side, you've got Christian fundamentalists fighting against it. But in the middle, there's this new paradigm that is emerging where consciousness is the ground of being, of reality. It's what creates reality and what we all come from and what, in fact, everything comes from. It comes from this infinite mind that has created us, and we're all offspring of it. And that is the truth, but you got people fighting against it because they've got their preconceived ideas. Think about somebody who has been a professor in a college and written books that are based on scientific materialism, that only material substance exists and the brain creates consciousness. They're so invested in that they can't give it up, even though it is obvious to anybody with the least bit of imagination that it cannot be true. It's just it's like I said, it's like Christian fundamentalists on the other side who say reincarnation can't exist when there are 2,500 cases of it that have been studied and investigated, and at least half of them have been, quote, proven, end quote. So, people just like Arthur Schopenhauer, who said all truth goes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Then it's violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. We're still in the violently opposed stage by those 2 groups.
Makes sense. So do you see more doctors as time goes on jumping more on this bandwagon?
I think that a lot of doctors, and I know a few, and I've talked to some, they believe it, but they won't say it out loud because they know that many of their colleagues are going to jump on them with both feet if they do. So it's like they are scientific materialists when they're doing their job and in their office at the university or at the hospital, but when they leave there, they put on a different hat and they go to church. It's they're leading double lives because they don't want to be ridiculed by their colleagues.
Very true. Getting back to the experience of dying, we always hear about this life review that we all have to go through. And I'll tell you, that is one thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, I am too.
Because we all have those skeletons in our closet, Steve, and I'll tell you, I can tell you right now, there is no way I'm going to be looking God in the eyes and saying, yeah, that was a smart move, when definitely it wouldn't be.
Well, to soften this up a little bit, one of the things that I've realized in the research I've done is that nobody judges you. Nobody else judges you. You judge yourself. There are others around who are participating or helping you through this life review, but they're not condemning you for what you did. They're trying to help you get through it. And so nobody from the outside is going to judge you. You are going to judge yourself, and you know what you've done. And so do I. And I've done some things that I wish I hadn't done, and I'm sorry for them. And I have, I've asked forgiveness, and I hope that's enough. But, I know that I'm going to see some things that are going to upset me, but we're just going to have to get through it. But it's not like you're going to be sent down to hell and to be burned in a fire because of it. It's because it's only what you yourself feel or think about what you've done.
Well, I think for a lot of people, we worry about that. And I know some ghost hunters out there who have said that they have encountered spirits who will not go to the light because they are ashamed, potentially, of having to go through that life review.
Well, I've heard the same thing. But I believe that those spirits would be better off to go ahead and do that and get it over with. And it might be helpful to tell them that nobody is going to judge them but themselves. And they're already judging themselves if they're sitting around wringing their hands because they don't want to go to the light and have to go through the review. They already know what they did, and they know it wasn't good, and so they might as well go ahead and get it over with. I mean, really, that seems to me to make sense. I mean, hanging around this dimension when you're a ghost is probably not a whole lot of fun.
So let me ask you this then, in regards to that entire process of the judgment. Previous to that, are we flying through the air, going over mountaintops, like a lot of people say? You know, at least 95% of the people who have this experience say that they meet their loved ones on the other side, that it's a very comforting feeling for the most part, and they don't want to leave. Is that all based on mind, or is that all based on the experience?
I think that's the mind and the experience. I think that what you just said there is true of most of the near-death experiences that I've read about or had told to me. I've talked to people who've had them, a number of people who've had them firsthand, and that it's really a terrific experience, and they feel great love from beings that they meet on the other side, as well as family and friends that have gone before, and they feel great comfort there. And the past life review is just one aspect of it that is really a learning experience. It's for us to learn and to assimilate and to take in what we did, and to perhaps keep us from making the same mistakes the next time around. And so it's all part of the process, but I think it's just part of it, and that we should not fear going to the light because of it. I think that we're going to be happy once we're there, and once we're through that, on the other side of that life review, we'll be happy again. We'll be in content. We'll be around people and other beings that we've known for ages and ages and many lifetimes, and that it'll be of great comfort to us, and I'm happy to be there. Eventually, perhaps we'll want to come back, but I don't think it makes sense to hang around the graveyard or in an old house or a castle or whatever when you can go to the light. One of the problems is that some people who are dead or killed or whatever don't realize they're dead, and that can happen. I've got a great story. I'll tell it quickly. There was a friend of mine, and my first wife was French, and she had a girlfriend who married a French count, and we went to stay in his place in the country, big old, they call them a chateau, a castle. It's really big house, but it was built probably back in the 18th century. And when he inherited this, it was kind of in a ruin. It hadn't been lived in for about 30 years, since before World War II, probably even longer than 30 years. And so he had some money, he made some money in the stock market and fixed the place up. And when he and his wife would go there while the workers were working and he was telling them what to do, and as he was going to sleep at night, he and his wife both would hear this, just as between waking and sleeping, this screaming coming from somewhere, somebody screaming for help. And he eventually, he would hear this every night, and it was bothering him. And he would go down into the cellar to look for where he thought it was coming from. And he noticed this one wall that looked newer than the others. So he got the workers to come down there and tear down that wall. And behind the wall was a skeleton. And they took the skeleton out and they gave it a Christian burial. And the night noises stopped after that. They no longer existed. So somebody had been knocked on the head, put there, the wall bricked up to close them in. And when they came to, they were screaming to get out and eventually died, but didn't know they were dead until that wall was torn down and they were taken out and buried. And they'd probably been there 80 years. So, time doesn't exist in the other dimension, so they don't realize that's how long it was. But anyway, that's an interesting story of, a haunting that was solved in that way.
Bill in the LGAB chat room makes this comment, and I'm going to turn it into a question because I think it's a smart comment, as we got about 3.5 minutes left with you tonight. He goes, I'm not going into the light for another reason. My reason is that it is a trick, and by going into the light, your soul gets recycled. Then you come back here with no memory. No thanks. So my question is, we have a lot of spirits that aren't wanting to go to the light. Could they maybe not be going to the light because they don't want to come back?
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that argument. And, you know, I guess if that's the way he feels, that's fine. But it seems to me it'd be awfully boring hanging around this, you know, close to this dimension when they could be going on to something that would be more fun. And I think when they come to this life again, this physical reality again, they're not going to remember their past lives. Some do, most don't. But when they get back there, they'll know them all. When you have been through all that, I believe that you assimilate with your soul, and your soul knows that all the things that you've experienced throughout eternity. So, you know, I'd advise your friend there to rethink that. And maybe it's he would like to advance and eventually not have to come back. You know, that's what I'm working. That's what I'd like to work toward. I don't particularly want to come back again, but I think I probably will because I still have a lot of things to learn.
I don't want to leave the first time around. I kind of like it here. I do. Yeah. Even with all the world problems, you know, there's so many mysteries I got to solve yet, and we're all on a timeline, unfortunately. But I got a lot of stuff I need to do that I haven't done, and you know, coming back, sure, hey, it would be great, but that whole childhood thing and having to go to school, and then you know, what happens if you get parents who want to put you in soccer rather than real sports? I mean, here's the thing that concerns me, man. That totally concerns me.
That's a good point. Yeah, you might not get the parents you want, but apparently you get to some choice in the matter as to who you come back, and it has to do with what you need to learn or your mission as to where you are when you come back and the parents you get.
My friend, do me a favor, as we only got 1 minute left. Let everybody know about your book and where they can find it.
Great, yeah. The name of the book is Afterlife, The Whole Truth. If you go to my website, you'll see the cover of the book on the home page. You can click on that or click below it. It'll take you to the page on Amazon where you can either get it in Kindle or in paperback. My website is shmartin.com. That's S as in Sam, H as in Harry, Martin, MARTIN.com. There's a video on there. You can watch it. It's me giving you my little philosophy of life and cover of the book. You can click on that. There's also a little button that you can click to find other books that'll go to a page that shows other books I've written. You might like some of them. For example, my 7 times great-grandmother was one of the Salem witches, and I've written a book about her and what I think really happened back in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692.
Very cool.
There you go.
My friend, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure. Stephen Hawley Martin, everybody. That's his website, shmartin.com. Make sure you remember that. Check it on out. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave to finish out the weekend.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemann. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us. If you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, much like Miss Vegas just did and sent me the photo. Yeah, she takes a photo of herself wearing a Spaced Out Radio We Own the Night t-shirt with the Carl skull in it. Along in her hand, a Taco Bell taco. God bless you. God bless you for rubbing that in. Oh, what I would do for Taco Bell right now. Sticking with the SOR Newswire, let's get to the news, shall we? Tacos. Tacos. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the wacky, the strange, and the sometimes sad. A big loss in the music world tonight as Neil Peart, the virtuoso drummer of the iconic Canadian band Rush, died today of brain cancer at the age of 67. The influential musician and lyricist died Tuesday, in Santa Monica, California, after being diagnosed with brain cancer, according to a statement issued by a family spokesperson. His death was confirmed by Meg Simisk, a media spokesperson for the progressive rock trio comprising Peart, Geddy Lee, and Alex Lifeson. It's with broken hearts and the deepest sadness that we must share the terrible news that on Tuesday, our friend, soul brother, and bandmate of over 45 years, Neil, has lost his incredibly brave 3.5-year battle with brain cancer. His bandmates said in a statement. They also called for privacy for Peart's family and urged fans wanting to express their condolences to make a donation in his name to cancer research groups around the world or a charity of their choice. They went on to say, "Rest in peace, our brother." Along with penning impressive lyrics, Peart was renowned for his remarkably proficiency on drums and expertly weaving together techniques from different musical genres, blending jazz and big band with hard rock. After the Hamilton, Ontario-born native Peart joined the bandmates Lee and Lifeson in 1974. His virtuoso drumming helped lift Rush to new musical heights. The band attracted a loyal worldwide fan base, sold millions of records, and influenced a multitude of rock musicians with its complex literary music. The band was honored at home, including an induction into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame in 1994, Canada's Walk of Fame in 1999, a Lifetime Achievement honor at the 2012 Governor General's Performing Arts Awards, and an Order of Canada, the first time that a group was chosen to receive the honor. The trio was also inducted into the United States Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2013 after years of lobbying by devoted fans. The band played its last tour in 2015, with Peart revealing the following year in the Rush documentary Time Stands Still that he had fought intense physical pain during that final run. Peart's writing also extended beyond music. He penned a number of memoirs exploring his life and travels, including Ghost Rider, Travels on the Healing Road, in which he opened up about the death in 1997 of his 19-year-old daughter Selena in a car accident and his wife Jackie, who died of cancer just 10 months later. His survivors include his wife Carrie, daughter Olivia. Funeral plans are pending. Musicians from around the world are really stepping up, showing their love for Neil Peart. Paul Stanley from Kiss says on Twitter, absolutely horrible news. Neil Peart has died after fighting brain cancer for years. His later life was filled with so much family tragedy, so sad. I'm just shocked. Slash from Guns N' Roses put up a picture of Neil Peart as well on his page. Metallica's Kurt Hammett says, R.I.P. to a master. Hashtag Neil Peart. Fellow Canadian Bryan Adams, R.I.P. Neil Peart, drummer for Canadian rock band Rush. Condolences to his family and fellow band members Geddy and Alex. Sad day indeed for music when the best drummer in the world passes away. All right, let's move on here. Where do we go? Let's go to this one here. In Sydney, Australia, the Navy, tasked with rescuing bushfire-trapped residents on the southeast coast, received a new mission Friday. They delivered beer to a country pub on the verge of running dry. Hey, get to what's important. Beer is needed. More than 1,000 people have been evacuated from the town of Malakuta, with the military sending landing craft to collect families trapped there since New Year's Eve. But after several shuttle runs and with the immediate emergency ebbing, the Navy will deliver much-needed supplies, including a precious cargo of tinnies to thirsty survivors. A Department of Defense spokesperson confirmed the beer is not occupying unnecessary space on HMAS Choules, and essential supplies were not offloaded to accommodate the beer, the spokesperson said. Beer is an essential service. We all need one of those. Carlton and United Breweries said Friday it had dropped the alcohol at the Cerebus Naval Base to be delivered to the Malakuta Hotel after it was on the verge of running out. The delivery includes 20 kegs and 4 pallets of beer and cider for a town that usually has a population of around 1,000. A pub with no beer is bad enough at the best of times, says Carlton and United Brewery CEO Peter Filippic. After what Malakuta residents and fireys have been through this last week and year, all we could do is make sure that they could have a good beer. We're not sure if the Navy has ever shipped beer to civilians before, but fires are an extraordinary disaster, Filipovic says. The 16,000-ton relief ship was due to return to Malakuta with beer on Friday, according to the Department of Defense. Good for them. Those people there need a good, relaxing beer. A Georgia man was arrested Sunday for stealing electronic devices from his 73-year-old mother, then intimidating her into giving him money for them to be returned, according to police. This guy doesn't even live in Florida, and this is happening. Well, Georgia is right next door, so he might be a transplant. Thomas Mitchell McCollum, the scumbag, was arrested at his mother's home in West Forsyth County, according to Atlanta police. Sheriff's Office spokesperson Corporal Doug Rainwater says deputies responded to the home in the 6,000 block of Tiebridge Street regarding a domestic dispute. McCollum's mother told the deputies that her son had stolen her electronic devices, then demanded money for their return. Rainwater said McCollum would intimidate his mother via text by demanding more money if she did not pay him, and if his mother did not meet his imposed deadlines, McCollum would keep increasing the amount. McCollum allegedly blocked his mother's car in with his van for 2 days until she agreed to take him to an ATM to withdraw money. McCollum faces 1 felony of exploitation and intimidation of an elderly person. Jail records cited by the media show that he remained booked in the Forsyth County Jail on a bond of $5,630. I'm sure he's asking Mum for that. A 41-year-old British man who attempted to dislodge a piece of popcorn stuck in his teeth using various objects claims he later developed a life-threatening infection that required him to undergo open-heart surgery. Adam Martin, a firefighter and father of 3 from Cornwall, England, said he noticed the piece of popcorn stuck in a back tooth after he and his wife watched a movie in September. For 3 days, he was unable to remove the popcorn. He claims to have used multiple objects, a pen lid, a toothpick, a piece of wire, and even a metal nail to remove the food, but was unsuccessful, and even damaged his surrounding gums when he was doing so. A week later, Martin began to suffer from night sweats, fatigue, headaches, all of which he initially thought were signs of the flu, but would later learn were signs of endocarditis, or an infection of the endocardium, the lining of the interior surfaces of the chambers of the heart. Yeah, the infection occurred when bacteria from the mouth, skin, intestines, and other areas of the body enters the bloodstream. By October, Martin's symptoms had yet to subside, leading him to see his doctor, who diagnosed him with a mild heart murmur and sent him home. But when he continued to feel unwell, he went to Royal Cornwall Hospital. I had a feeling that there was something seriously wrong. I was sleeping an awful lot, and I felt terrible. I had headaches and pains in my legs, and I just did not feel right at all. I was admitted to hospital the same day for tests. By this point, I was really worried. Martin added, I felt ill, and I knew I was not right at all. Scans of the dad's chest showed his heart was damaged due to the infection. He was then transferred to a different hospital where he reportedly underwent a 7-hour open heart surgery to repair his mitral valve and replace his aortic valve. My heart was not working properly anymore. It was essentially wrecked. The infection had eaten the valves away, he claimed. If I had gone to the dentist in the first place, none of this would have happened. So if you get popcorn stuck in your teeth, can't come out, don't use a rusty nail or anything lead or anything. You might just end up with open heart surgery. Oh, we get a lot of intuitive thoughts and people around here. Okay, we do. But this one may take the cake and or the asparagus. It was written in the Spears. The royal family news that shocked the world this past Wednesday apparently did not come as a surprise to one woman in England. Self-proclaimed fortune teller Jemima Packington is claiming she predicted Harry and Meghan Markle would step back from the royal family after reading some asparagus spears. Yeah. Packington, reportedly the world's only asparomancer. Yes, I said that right. Asparomancer. Says she is able to see the future by throwing asparagus into the air and then observing how the spears land on the ground. When I cast the asparagus, it creates patterns, and in its patterns, I interpret, the vegetable eater said, explaining she inherited the ability from her aunt, who read tea leaves and has been predicting the future since she was 8 years old. I'm usually about 75 to 90% accurate with my predictions. I go through my predictions each year and think, yep, that's happened. Yep, that one happened too, she says. Packington admits sometimes she doesn't quite read the asparagus correctly, but claims she is never far off with her predictions. Among her previous prophecies, Packington says that many have proven true, alleging that she was able to predict Brexit, England winning the World Cricket Cup, and Theresa May being pushed out as Prime Minister. As for her 2020 predictions outside the royal family, Packington says she foresees a real shake-up of the major political parties. Sports and sporting personalities will be embroiled in scandals concerning about global warming will again take center stage, but more countries will take action to minimize the threat of the planet. Packington, however, did not disclose the lottery numbers or Super Bowl predictions, so it looks like you'll just have to roll the dice on those or get your own stock of asparagus. An electronic sign at the side of a Kentucky road captured the attention of drivers with an unusual request: send nudes. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet confirmed the sign at the side of the Kentucky Route 92 in Whitley County was hacked Thursday morning by someone who changed the message to send nudes. Officials say the sign was shut off and corrected by a worker for the contract company that owns the sign. Amber Hale, a cabinet spokeswoman for District 8, says the sign can be changed by someone on site, but it has password protection the hacker was somehow able to bypass. My question is, did anybody send nudes to that? Anybody? Show of hands? Anybody? Kentucky people? Oh, I don't know. All right. A Louisiana couple says they had no idea that they had won a $2 million Powerball jackpot until seeing a Facebook post about the unclaimed prize weeks later. Tammy and James Miller told the Louisiana lottery officials they bought a ticket for the October 26th drawing from Superior Discount in Metairie, but they didn't give the ticket much thought until weeks later. I saw on Facebook that someone in Metairie won $2 million on the Powerball. Tammy says, I didn't think there was any way it could be my ticket, so I just took my time finding it. Miller was able to locate the ticket and was shocked to see it was the $2 million jackpot winner. The couple said they feel thrilled, happy, and blessed to have won the jackpot. No word if Asparagus Lady read this coming. Asparagus readings. That's a new one, people. You got to be proud of that one. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Then we read your responses on the air. Why? Well, we love the audience participation around here. So today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What do you think happens when we die? Hey, we didn't get any one-word answers today. I'm kind of excited about this. All right. Let's start with Park. We move to the fourth dimension, then to the fifth. That's the heaven dimension. The fourth is the same dimension used by aliens for time travel. I'd like to see some aliens before moving up to heaven. That would be kind of cool. No word of the seventh element by Vitas. Evan, a lot happens when you die. It's just that none of it involves you. Oh, but Karen didn't like that answer. She goes, oh, yes, it does. My son passed in New Zealand around 6 a.m. We were all woken back here at 4-ish in the morning, 2-hour time difference. The dog woke us. I thought Spirit had come for me. I'm 60-plus years old. There was a massive plate-sized red orb on the wall. Meanwhile, the dog is going nuts. Then, bam! We were all back to sleep. My son has been close by since the day he passed. Visitors have also experienced my son's energy. Tony, we return to the quantum world of photonic energy held within the torsion field, I think. Stuart, little Stewie, he says, once to die, then judgment. Oh, once again, I really do not want to go through that judgment. But I guess we have no choice. Eugene, we experience a lowering of body functions and a dimming of conscious awareness. Primal fear, paralyzation, and a primal ecstasy are produced and are also associated with that process of transformation between life and death. This is the beginning. There is much more. Oh, so much more. Love you, Eugene. Yeah, that's awesome. Alfred, depends on how you lived your life. You know, you expect more after a little sentence like that. Little 7-word sentence. You want more. I want more, Alfred. I want more. Sarah, your own personal beliefs about yourself and life will determine a lot, and everyone's experience would be different. Bottom line is, consciousness never dies. Energy never ceases to exist. It only transforms. And we are all energy at our most basic form. Robin, he says, well, we all go up to Valhalla. Turn right on Granville. You get to the Vancouver Moose. Stop in, say hi to the boys there. Appreciate it. J&J, for me, there was nothing. Blackness, I guess. Rushed to the hospital on a Monday and came to on a Thursday. Well, that sucks. Nicole, wash, rinse, repeat. Oh, that's good. That is very good. Everett, people fight over our stuff. See, this is the reason why Everett has his 5 Gibson Les Pauls buried in a crypt about 182 feet underground, that you need a retina scan in order to get the elevator down. Right? But first you have to get through the lake of piranhas that surrounds the crypt that goes 182 feet down. It's true. Completely true. Mandy, what does she say? What am I going to do when I die? I'm going to party hard. Yeah, I will. Good call, Mandy. Very strong call. Catherine, you get dead. Then bring you back by beating you down, only to bring you back to die again. Then you're dead as done. You're done dead. Oh, that's strong. Buddy, you go to room temperature. True. Chris, we either rot and our molecules are absorbed by the earth, or we are cremated and return to the atmosphere as heat, water, and gases. Well, let me have some Taco Bell before that happens, if I'm coming back as gases. James gets the final word. Actually, on Facebook he does. That's it. Game over. Eric on Twitter, well, he's polite. Our bodies rot away. Space Cowboy, final word of the night. We rejoin the universal consciousness until we decide to re-enter this construct. On that note, thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave on Twitter and Facebook. We'll do it all again on Monday. Big thanks to Captain Shirk and the SOR Newswire for prepping our news tonight. Great job, Captain. Loved it. Appreciate that. Now, go back to your Rob Zombie, because I know what song you're listening to. And, of course, to author Stephen Hawley Martin. You can grab his books on Amazon about life after death. His latest book is Afterlife, The Whole Truth. shmartin.com if you want to check out his website. What a good week this has been. Honestly, what a fantastic week. Flew on by. Cannot wait until next week. Little Billy Hauser kicks it off on Monday. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar gods himself. Yeah. Hell yeah. That's a different band. We want to thank everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, in our chat rooms on LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers on our website, and everybody at hashtag Spaced Out Radio for your beautiful snark this week. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your week with us. Enjoy your weekend, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you Monday. Rich Giordano in Saturday night. Everett Themer Sundays. We go 7 days a week around here. We don't mess around. So make sure you tune them on in. They're the best of the weekend crew anywhere in the paranormal world. So give them a like, give them a listen. You'll enjoy. We'll see you Monday. Good night.